another set of roads over from Decatur. Lori's leading the way, but she has no way which idea which way she's leading. This road was kind of a neat road. A little shady too, that's nice. There's a YouTube blogger, or whatever you call it, named Hot Girl, and she and her husband and some of their friends ride all over Tennessee and North Carolina or whatever, somewhere around that area, South Carolina. But they go out some pretty neat back roads and see some of those banjo players. It's not quite like that right here, but we do know some areas where it might be a little banjo-y. Road would have been good to go on. Laura, you want to do a U-turn? Go back on that one? Okay, why don't you turn right up here and let's go back. Let's see a nice U-turn here. There's nobody coming. I'll protect the back. There you go. That road out there to the left looked pretty, yeah. Oh, here, I'll go. Pretty like interesting because it was all shaded and stuff. Well, maybe not, but I don't think we've been here before. The whole idea is to go places that we haven't been before. I know exactly where we are now, and this is just no good. Hi, dog. This is 51. Well, we'll just go down 51 for a second, and we'll make a left turn to take the first available turn off of 51. Up to 60 miles an hour. Corey's keeping right up, no problem. Which is kind of cool, because the other motorcycle she had couldn't do it. And now we're able to stay out on the road and go. have room. There's cars coming, but you got plenty of room. Oh, yeah, we got to go to Oak Grove Methodist Church. Years ago, the Oak Grove Methodists had a major conflict with some of the South Oak Grove Baptists. And ultimately, the Baptists had to put their church further out into the middle of nowhere so the Oak Grove Methodists could put their church in this area. So we may see an old battlefield where that actually occurred coming up here in a minute. I'm not sure. Uh-oh. No outlet. Don't turn that way. Well, that's not good. In fact, looks like there's still little remnants of the battle going on over here. Yep. Yep, Lori's coming. Still learning to handle that motorcycle. Anyway, well, that was, yeah, looks like there's remnants of the battle right over there. Still smoldering. Yeah. So, anyway, so the Oak Grove Methodists won, mostly, and so now they have a Methodist church out here somewhere. Now, Oak Grove is known for its dandelions. Evidently, when the settlers first moved here, there was some special species of dandelions, and evidently it became a really big deal, and so Oak Grove became a little town center, and I guess the Methodists sell the dandelions worldwide now, which is pretty interesting. I never knew there was a dandelion market. But I guess they sell it right out of this church now. I don't know where they grow them though. I think that what happened was the Baptists were trying to get into that market as well, and I believe they may have tried to destroy some of the dandelion fields that the Methodists were doing, and so I think the Methodists ended up hiding the dandelions. Anyway, of course, that really pissed off the Indians too, because the Indians were the ones that actually were the first to cultivate these dandelions, which caused a lot of strife between the Indians, the Methodists, and the Baptists, evidently. Now, this could have been old dandelion fields, but when the Methodists moved the dandelions because of the Baptists, they probably started raising cattle as well. From what I understand, cow manure is really good for dandelions. If we keep going here, we will probably come to the southwest north Oak Grove Baptist Church. I'm not sure which one it is. Funny thing is about dandelions is their stalks are really good for making baskets, and so there's another big industry, well, not now, but it used to be, of course, when they farmed out the dandelion growing to the Chinese years ago. The basket making also went over to the Chinese. So every now and then you'll find some basket maker that uses dandelion stock, but generally speaking, most dandelion stock baskets are synthetic anyway. It's not really real dandelion stock. That mailbox has done better. Anyway, pretty interesting, the different industries that evolved from dandelion growing. And the first dandelion war was as a result of this Baptist Methodist strife. Of course, the second dandelion war 130 years ago did result in most of the Baptists just moving totally out of this area. That's why you just don't see too many Baptists in Oak Grove anymore anyway. Matter of fact, if I remember right, the old Baptist church in Oak Grove is just all torn down now. It just was left and just kind of fell apart. Gravel. Some of the camera for later, and once we get to the that Baptist church area, I'll let you know. Oh, and this John Wind Ranch, that's another story in itself. I'll have to bring an update on that at some point later on when I have more battery power. But the old John Wind Ranch, it's a really interesting story. It goes back to the Ewings and in the oil fields back, South Fork Ranch. Well, one of the things when the Ewings first moved in, they were in this area. They since moved over to the other side of Dallas, where that mansion is now, South Fork. But evidently John Wind and the Ewings, they were pretty close, but they had some sort of a falling out. I don't know if it had to do with the dandelion industry, the basket weaving industry, or what, but as you know, the Ewings had developed a bunch of oil, and they were big into oil, and of course, that's a whole nother story. Probably know a lot about that from the 70s and 80s as they developed that documentary, what was that called? I can't remember. I guess it was called Dallas or something like that, but it was a documentary on the oil family, the Ewings, and they kind of left out the John Wind story and how that all developed, which is really kind of too bad because evidently it's kind of a sad story. They were really a close family until the Dandelion Wars erupted and kind of split them up. So it's kind of too bad. A lot of history over here. Of course, we've left Oak Grove quite a while ago. I never did find that Baptist church, but like I said, it was probably pretty much dilapidated and fell apart, so not much left to see anyway. Yard. I guess a few weeks ago somebody took a wrong turn, and this is Texas, and so they went on their property, and that was the last wrong turn those people ever took, from what I understand. So there was some controversy if the police were going to charge them, but the protests were totally against the police charging them. I mean, these people came on private property and they got shot. That's too bad. One of them was 5, the other one was 10 years old. They were out riding their bicycles, and they should have known better. You just don't do that in Texas. a few days ago, somebody shot a 830-pound wild boar that came into their front yard. It was huge. Just wandered in there all by itself, and I guess the guy noticed it was there and shot it. Now, from what I understand, he used a 300 Black. The big controversy was whether or not that was the right caliber, as he had numerous other choices, and so a lot of people were upset that he used the 300 Black. Some people thought he should have used the shotgun with a 1-ounce slug. Other thought that maybe he ought to just stick with the 5.56. And then I saw another article that talked about the 4.58 alcohol, and evidently there's been all sorts of bad letters and text to this poor guy because he used the 300 Black instead of one of these other things. But no matter which one he would have used, somebody was going to complain about it. I think the main thing is that that's a lot of bacon. 830 pounds worth of bacon? Holy moly, that's pretty awesome. So I'm thinking whatever he shot it with killed it. And so, I mean, that's like 2 or 3 breakfasts worth of bacon right there for 3 or 4 people each, you know? That's not bad. Well, I guess, oh no, that's Sycamore. Oh no, that's another story. The Sycamores, oh my Lord. You know, they came over from Italy. And, you know, I guess they split off from the Catholic Church or something. I'm not exactly sure. But when they moved here, of course, they paired up with the other Baptists from Oak Grove, the Oak Grove Baptist folks. Well, the Sycamore family and the Oak Grove Baptist folks, boy, oh boy, brutal. They would come down and they were so bad about this dandelion shit that they would actually cut the roots off right at the ground level, so that the Methodists couldn't regrow it. It was just nasty stuff. They would use scissors to do it. You know, back then they didn't even have sharp scissors, so that just shows how dedicated the Sycamores were to ruining the Baptist dandelion industry. But from what I understand, they were the beginnings of the Northwest Decatur Mafia, which existed until the late 40s, when finally, after the war, the state troopers were able to eradicate the Sycamore mob. But as you can see, the remnants of their family still got that Baptist church over there, so maybe they're still around. I don't know. We have a fork in the road, and I'm going to say we've never gone this way, so let's go this way. Looks like a little washout here. Sycamores moved over here. Like I said, they did split with the Catholics, and you don't see many Catholics around here anymore. Evidently, the purge of the Catholics was pretty much taken care of by the Sycamores. Pretty ruthless. Not only did they kill all the dandelions, but evidently they went after the Catholics too. okay. Up to 400 miles on my 600-mile oil change for my first oil change. I'm going to take this over to Cassidy, and he's going to put in some new carburetor jets and everything to make this thing run better with that exhaust. Now we are now into Greenwood, and we'll just go over here real quick and just show you the Greenwood grocery store, which I think maybe I just went the wrong way, but the Greenwood grocery store is kind of neat because they have a little restaurant in there. It's really popular too. Got a lot of people that out here in the oil and gas industry come out here and they'll grab lunch, breakfast, whatever, and then on the Friday nights or Saturday, one or the other, they have some catfish dinner. They import that from Sweden, evidently. The catfish is evidently quite the delicacy over there in Sweden, so they get the special catfish over here, and evidently they've got some Swedish dancers that come in as well every Friday night. I don't really understand that, but it sounds kind of neat. And you know, considering this is Texas, I would have thought it, you know, the Swedish dancers would have been something that's a little different, but they also do a little of that it's that polka stuff, Polish dancing evidently over there, and they all have catfish while they're doing it. Lori and I thought we might like to go over there sometime, but I really don't know if I like the polka. But maybe might get Dan and Jane to come over there with us, or Jason and Lisa, and do that. But they only have one table over there, and you know, it's a big table. They can sit 8 normally, and then they have to have everybody else stand. So that makes it a little rougher. It's kind of weird that they import that catfish from Sweden, considering they've got a bunch of catfish around here, from what I understand. I guess the Swedish catfish don't have whiskers like they do here in Texas. The whiskered catfish variety is evidently more of the southern U.S. Species, but over there in Sweden, I guess they don't have whiskers. But I guess they don't need to, because they have like short legs, and they can like feel around on the ground or on the water with their legs. They don't use the whiskers as much. Anyway, very interesting. Remember the Clampetts. They also had a place out here. You know, everybody thinks they went to Beverly Hills, but they actually had a little plot of land out here. It was whenever they wanted to get back to their roots, they would come out here. They didn't go all the way back to Kentucky or wherever they were, but you know, because Texas was better, so they ended up coming here. So they had an old shack that they built out here, remind them of the old days, you know, between trips over to Beverly Hills. See if we can find that. I'm pretty sure it's on this road. It's pretty run down. Whoa, this is not it though. This is a driveway. Where did Lori go? Uh-oh. I think I lost Lori. Yeah. Uh-oh. Where did she go? Well, that's weird. Oh, there she is. I don't know what happened, but evidently she figured it out that it was a driveway. You okay? Alright. Well, I thought that was the road that the Clampett shack was on, but evidently it just ended at a driveway. I missed the dead end sign there or something. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure it's up here. Put up right about the time they put Sputnik up as a tracking antenna. Now since then it was actually, oh no, this is the road. I'm pretty sure this is the road that the Clampett shack is on. Yeah, when Sputnik went up in 57, they erected that antenna to track it, and it was one of the tallest antennas in the South. Now of course probably not that anymore, but they've converted it to, I guess they have all sorts of cellular type antennas and stuff on it, so you can get cell service and everything. But pretty interesting, that tracking antenna for Sputnik. Now from what I understand, now that might be there now. It doesn't look like a shack anymore. Evidently somebody took it over. It's a lot nicer than it used to be. Huh. Well, of course, you know, that family has pretty much kind of been assimilated by the Hollywood types over there, so they probably wouldn't come out here much anymore anyway. Looks like whoever took it over did a pretty good job, though. Anyway. Yeah, the Russian engineer that was the head designer for Sputnik moved over here to Chico area back in the late 60s. He wanted to get out of the Soviet Union, so he defected. He came over with the Soviet Union national ping pong team as one of their ping pong players, and he was so bad that they basically left him here. But it worked out okay. Now he runs a friggin' Mexican restaurant over in Chico, which is not bad. It's not the greatest place, but, you know, it's not bad. Anyway, here we are somewhere. This is 7:30, and I think there's another road that we haven't been on yet, so we ought to go that way. Car on the left. Speaking of ping pong, tell you what, there's a huge ping pong following out here, and people have ping pong tournaments. Throughout the year, what they do is they'll go and play ping pong in each other's garages. Kind of an underground thing, just a little betting and stuff like that. It's can get a little violent actually because it's very competitive. But I have to admit, I love ping pong. I'd like to go and see what that's all about. I don't want to get into the betting violent stuff, but I wouldn't mind playing some ping pong. Now, there's Rufus over there. Not a bad dog. He just kind of guards the front. Doesn't really come chasing after you often, but evidently he went after a car years ago and caught it. Didn't know exactly what to do with it, and it kind of injured him a little bit. Yeah, evidently they make some high quality ping pong paddles out here somewhere as well. And I'm not sure where that shop is, but I'd like to find it. They got carbon fiber ping pong paddles, and of course you can go old school with some of the mesquite. They got some nice mesquite and some oak mixed type stuff evidently for the paddles, and not all of them use rubber padding on them. Some of them actually have a nice squirrel skin padding, which is evidently it really handles the ball really nice. It puts some good spin on it, a lot of control. Never thought squirrel skin would do that. run right out in front of these motorcycles, and you know, we can't do much. Just run them right over. Well, that's right, the Bethels. Jesus. Between the Bethels and the Sycamores, I will tell you what. Must have been awful back then, about 18,